All right. So we are officially live. Is the recorder on, Josh? Yes, it is. All right. So I will call the April 11th, 2024 Evansville Vanderburgh Public Library Board of Trustees meeting to order at 4:30 p.m. We are meeting in a different location than normal. We are still in Central Library, but we're on the third floor. And just to make sure we note that we double check to make sure we were okie dokie for moving it up here because we're doing early voting downstairs, which is also important.
So is a legal thing that okie dokie?
Yeah, okie dokie. Introduction of forum and visitors. Do we have any visitors today? Other than staff? Hey, welcome staff. Correspondence, I sent that around. There were 3 or 4 items in there. Everybody takes the chance to look at that, which will take us to the consent agenda. Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to appoint a secretary pro tem?
Yeah, I guess Sabrina's online, right? But because help
Yes.
clarify that because of the the way the rules are structured, if you're 2 in a row where you are not in person, you lose the ability to vote at that point in time until you are in person next time, but you can still participate in discussion.
Correct.
And all that. Does that make sense, Sabrina?
It does.
Okay. So while you're out, I will appoint a temporary or a secretary pro tem. Ms.
Sure.
Hunt, were you willing?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. That's what I like to hear. Secretary pro tem. Consent agenda. Everybody had a chance to look at that. Do I hear a motion to approve as presented?
Second.
Motion, second. Any discussion, questions, comments? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item. Governance. Don't see anything on that one. So we'll move on to the finance report. Report of appropriations.
For the end of the month of March 31st, 2024, we had appropriation balance of $13,272,705.98, or the equivalent of about 79% of the original budget. And I'll get into more detail on the quarterly update.
Okay. Investments.
Investment reports for the 4 funds that we have invested in the state investment pool of Trust Indiana. We have a balance of $12,325,900. The average daily yield for March was 5.3772, or down about 0.1%. And the average daily yield year to date was 5.3985, also down 0.08% since February.
Approval of bills. Bob.
For the period ending. Well, 4/11/2024, we had bills totaling $435,910.62. For the payrolls for the month of March, we had $339,333.08 and $496,400.52. I'd ask that those all be approved by the body.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Status of our budgets.
For the end of the third quarter of March 31st, you'll see in your packet status that includes the revenue. We have not received our circuit breaker tax credit information. It usually comes in right after this meeting. So we'll have it for the next quarter. But right now, we're still showing the original certified budget and certified tax levies that we received for 2024 year. You can see we're doing well again in our investments for our library operating fund. We did increase the budget for 2024 to $60,000, and we've already collected in the first quarter $102,000. So we will far exceed that again But if the interest rates continue to go down, that may level out a little bit. We might not have as much, in the coming quarters. Also, we have, received, on our, what we call our manual charges, which is mostly the, passport, fees. We've received 52% of the budget already in the first quarter of the year, so we're doing well there. And then I wanted to point out that some of the questions from last year, that were posed, we decided to separate out the passport postage that was purchased so we could more easily track what we're charging and bringing in as revenue, and then what we're paying out on the expense side. Under the expenses, we're in really good shape. We're spending as normal, I guess you should say, for the first quarter of the year. One of the items you might notice is a little bit low. If you took 75% or, you know, 1/4 of the original budget, would be our general library supplies. We typically will run a little high or low, and then we'll offset that later on in the year with program supplies or general office supplies, wherever we have the funds available. We're trying to track that a little bit more consistently through the year and what we're spending. Again, office supplies are running high again this year, and we're trying to not order any, especially ink cartridges, except for on an in-time as need basis. Especially as all of our locations are getting new printers out of the, for the public's use, and those, of course, have different ink cartridges that go with them. And so we're getting old ink cartridges that we don't want to be setting out there, and in these types of situations, then we get back and have no use for them, or nothing we can do with them. But potentially offload them to another library or another county entity that might need to use them. The other area that you might see that is low at 34% is on the second page of the expenses, about 5 lines down, cataloging and authority control. That is low because we used to pay that on a month-to-month basis, and that cataloging is what the fees that are charged to us to put all of our especially new collection into the system and keep everything up to date. So it's part of our technical services department. This year and last year, they switched from month to month to an annual basis. So we've pretty much already paid what we're going to out of that particular line item. We'll have a few other small expenditures as we go along, but for the most part, those are taken care of year to date. And then the other ones that might look low are boiler inspection, backflow maintenance, and our facility maintenance agreements. Those are agreements that we pay one time at the beginning of the year, so those actually are in very good shape as well as we move through the year. And we have 22% of the budget left for our library dues, and those are the dues of the library itself. The professional dues, that line right under that is for the librarian dues. So again, those are billed to us out of 10 different organizations, and most of them have already been paid for the year. So again, I'm not real worried about that going over. So 79% with a target of 75%. I think we're doing really good.
Thank you. Questions for Laura? Other business. McCullough renovation project change orders.
Yep, we have one change order to bring before you, with multiple line items on it, this month to ratify. It is in the amount of $46,659. One is for the new back fence between us and the neighbor's condominium tower. Locking display case for glass doors to go on the locking display case, along with some bulkhead lighting in the display areas. Exterior book drop concrete pad for the exterior book drop, and break room tile backsplash. to be put in the break room.
And to be clear, they did bring these to me for our last set of guidance, and I went through them all, and they all seemed like things that we'd either talked about or seemed reasonable and not excessive, so I went ahead and gave them permission to move forward.
So then the motion to adopt that body, that's, I so move.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Before we move on, still on line date done on time,
Well,
or close to it?
close to it, close to it. Lamont, did you want to speak to it? I was not at the last, construction update. We have one tomorrow morning, which will have more updated information. But last I heard, we were still on substantial completion time from the last change order, which was it May 18th?
I believe it was May, it's the May. The Monday before May 22nd, I believe.
Okay,
So we are still on track for that. Our largest problem is gonna be getting into shelving and stuff. When I say problem, that's the biggest holdup right now, is getting the actual library shelves. But as far as the instruction,
Or getting it installed?
getting it delivered, they're gonna install it as soon as it shows up. This environment's been fantastic. They're just waiting on the actual metal material.
Mhm.
So, and Danco is right on track to, you walk in there right now, it's a huge open cavern.
And we still have quite a bit of cushion at Washington Square, right?
yes. Yep, we built in contingencies.
Oh,
There was a 1-year contract and it ends July 31st or July 30th, actually.
Mm.
Because it started July 31st of 23.
So we have 2 extra months, so.
Hopefully, we don't use them.
We can help.
And then from there, we can renew on a month-to-month basis if needed.
Other questions about McCall? Commodities transportation renewal.
Okay. Lori, Lamont, jump in here if needed, but this is, we met with our representative from NRG. They are the company that we buy our wholesale natural gas from. And we did our 6-month update with them, and he's recommending to all his clients to look at possibly locking in their pricing for fiscal year 25 now before the price of natural gas goes up in the summer due to basically increased usage at power plants, driving the price up because of air conditioning throughout the summer months. I know it sounds counterintuitive when you're dealing with natural gas, but that does happen because a lot of our power plants are now natural gas fired. So he is recommending that. In your packet, you have the document and the memo from Lori and administration. As you'll see, it's noted that our price there is less than what we locked in for this fiscal year, so it is down. So with the board's approval, if you'd like us to lock in our price for next fiscal year, we're just hedging our bets that we're getting the best price right now, and doing it a little bit earlier than we would in the fall, because going through summer, we're afraid price is gonna go up and we can lock a price in now. It doesn't start until the fall of the contract, but we'll have to lock in now.
That's for 12 months, so.
Yeah, another 12 month is our recommendation. We could do 24, but I think it's prudent when you're dealing with this type of thing, that with everything that's going on in the global economy, to go with the 12-month contract. Seems to be the most prudent.
On the downside,
The downside would be if all of a sudden natural gas drops and we're locked in at a little bit higher price. But as it is right now, we are definitely lower than last year. And looking at all the research and talking to our vendor, and I went ahead and checked some other natural gas commodity resources. Everything I've expected is a slight increase from what these prices are now going into fiscal year 25. So
and this is lower than we budgeted for the year.
yes, I believe so, correct, Lori? Well,
Well,
we haven't budgeted
haven't
for
budgeted.
25. This allows us to budget at this price for 25.
and we did not budget for 24 based on this contract because it didn't happen till the fall. And we had already set our budget. So we're still working on how it works out. So we left for 2024, we left our natural gas budget about where it's been. And then we'll take a look as we see how much we've been paying out and how much we haven't been paying out.
Yeah.
For 2025.
Move approval.
Motion,
Second.
second. Discussion.
I just add that the fixed price will be whatever we fix it. So if we contact Richard tomorrow and tell him that we're ready to lock it in, then it probably will be Monday, but we'll have whatever date that the contract is finalized. That'll be the price that we get. And so,
So it could be a little lower or it could be a little higher. That's why Lori was trying to send you the last two that we've received in from the last,
Yeah,
to show you the fluctuation.
and today it was for the 12-month, 100% swing was $4 and $3.35. So it was a bit lower than Tuesday, but also a little bit higher than when we first talked to him on the 27th.
That's good clarification. I guess it's safe to say when you budget, this is a factor. We know what the number is for whatever this is, decathlon or whatever we're buying. But it really depends on usage.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, it's-
Uphold that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Is that contract though based on a certain amount of usage though?
No,
It's not,
No.
so it's for whatever amount. We don't have to utilize a certain amount.
the only time it really helps us is if prices go super high in the winter time because we have a really cold snap. But as he mentioned, I put in the memo, we've had other than the one instance where we had that really cold day.
Yeah.
We've had pretty mild winters, even part of the winter, we only had the day of, day before, day of Christmas. And after that, it got warmed back up, so, but if we have a really warm spring, or we go from winter to summer like we have in the past years, then that will also drive the price up, and even though we don't use gas to cool our facilities, as Scott mentioned,
Mhm.
gas drives the energy plant, so it could still be affect us. So this way, this gives us some more certainty that our budget is on track instead of this up and down. Yeah, you're hedging your bets, exactly.
warming, right?
Yep.
There's a motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Announcements.
I would just like to have you all look at all the events and programs we have coming up that has been included in your packet. We've got lots of really good stuff coming up. Ellen Hildebrand, our next speak author, will be coming up here this quarter. So would definitely love to see you all there. The last event went over really, really well and had a very nice crowd. So look forward to seeing more in the spring.
That was a great event and we were in competition with, who were we in competition with? Because I thought, oh my gosh, all these people were lined up to, but it was somebody at the Ford Center,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Any additional announcements? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Was that
Motion
Vermont?
carries.